take it. Ganbu always share everything with each other no matter what. It's okay.
Seong Gi-hun, a jobless gambler who's also a divorcee with a daughter, still lives with his mom. On his way home from seeing his daughter, a stranger tries to sell the prospect of playing another game for money to Gi-hun and leaves him a card in that regard. On getting home, Gi-hun calls the number on the card after discovering that his ex-wife and daughter are leaving the city soon. He's given a location to meet, but is knocked out when he gets there. Several hours later, Gi-hun wakes up in a mysterious place and meets Sang-woo, an old friend of his and another old man called Il-nam. There, they learn that they're contestants in a game. They're briefed about the game as well as the prize pot to be won, which is about 45.6 billion South Korean won, or roughly 35 million US dollars. However, the rules of the game are kept secret. After the briefing, all 456 players are taken to the game hall, where they begin their first game, which is called Red Light, Green Light. The rules of the game specifies that players stop when they hear red light and go on green light. Anyone who errs will be eliminated. When the game starts, about half of the players unexpectedly get mown by automatic guns. During the game, Gi-hun comes so close to being eliminated, but is saved by Abdul Ali. Back in the dormitory, the survivors learn that 225 players had just been killed, and they still have 5 more games to go with a similar elimination process. Devastated by the deaths they just witnessed, a majority of the players votes to have the game cancelled, as per their signed agreement prior to this moment, so the players are allowed to return to their normal lives. The first thing Gi-hun does is report to the police, but the game and its organizers prove untraceable. However, Detective Junho picks up an interest in Gi-hun's report when he finds a similar card in his missing brother's room. When Gi-hun gets home, he learns that his mom has been admitted to the hospital for diabetes. As time goes by, Sang-woo, Il-nam, Gi-hun, Abdul Ali, Deok-soo, and Sae-byeok find it hard to survive the onslaught of debts and responsibilities, so they all decide to return to the game. As Gi-hun is taken back to the game arena, Detective Junho trails behind, tracking Gi-hun's phone. On getting to the arena, Junho cleverly impersonates a corrupt staff member in the gaming complex. 187 players from the previous game have returned. Now, Sang-woo, Gi-hun, Abdul Ali, and Il-nam have to form a group to prepare themselves for whatever the game might throw at them. Later that night, Sae-byeok surreptitiously sees members of the gaming staff melting sugar, though she doesn't know what it's for. The next morning, during breakfast, one of the corrupt staff members tips Byung-gi about the nature of the next game. Meanwhile, Sang-woo quizzes Sae-byeok about the nature of the game and she tells him what she knows. Sang-woo then figures out the game when they're asked to choose shapes, but he hoards his knowledge. He chooses the triangle, Abdul chooses the circle, Il-nam goes for the star, while Gi-hun goes for the umbrella. The game is called Sugar Honeycombs, and they're given sugar melted into their respective shapes and asked to carve out those shapes without breaking the entire thing, or be killed on the spot. A lot of them break the shape and get killed, but by copying the tactics of Gi-hun, some of the contestants manage to succeed, including Il-nam. During this time, Jin-hoo is asked to wait back after the game, because he refrained from shooting those who failed the game. After the game, Il-nam thanks Gi-hun for his help. On getting to their dorm room, they learn that 79 out of 187 of them have been eliminated. However, the team celebrates their survival. During breakfast next morning, Deok-soo kills one of the players because he confronted him over taking an extra meal and depriving some of any. With one more player dead, his cut is added to the prize pot, thereby increasing it. This gives some greedy players the idea of killing others outside of the games, as less players means more prize money for the winner and less contesters during the next game. As this goes on, it's revealed that Byung-gi, a doctor in the real world, gets tips about the games in return for harvesting organs from dead players for some of the corrupt staff. That night, players who were unable to defend themselves get killed. Meanwhile, Gi-hun and his team stay up and fight anyone bold enough to attack them. When the next game comes the next morning, the surviving players are asked to create a group of 10 people. Gi-hun's team consists of 7 men and 3 women, which becomes a huge problem when they learn the nature of the game, a rope-pulling game called Tug of War. That heavily relies on physical strength of the team members to pull the other team off the edge, and letting them fall to their deaths. Most members of Gi-hun's team are weak compared to the others, and it poises them for elimination. However, Il-nam comes up with a strategy that offers some hope. Il-nam's tactics prove insufficient as a winning strategy. However, while the group is at the brink of losing, Sang-woo pulls a trick out of his sleeve that gives them the win and their lives. With only 40 players left, Gi-hun and his team prepare for the night in the event that there's another attack. As they create a barricade to protect themselves, Deok-soo tries to intimidate them, but Gi-hun claps back at him, and it works like a miracle, as the man refrains from attacking anybody that night. The same night, Byung-gi is taken to a room to harvest organs as usual. However, things go south this time, and he doesn't get a tip for the next game. As Junho and number 28, a staff member, take the harvested organs to the ship, Junho's cover is blown. Thinking quickly, Junho kills number 28 before he can rat him out, getting information about the players' list as well. Meanwhile, Frontman, the leader of the staff, catches Byung-gi and a corrupt staff member while they're having a fight regarding the tip he didn't receive. Frontman then proceeds to kill them both. Afterward, Frontman figures out that there's an intruder when he sees the bullet Junho used to kill number 28. As soon as he notices that, he raises an alarm. Concurrently, Junho successfully accesses the players list and finds his brother's name as the winner of the previous edition. The staff combs the dorm rooms in search of Junho. When they don't find him, they go out to the gaming arena for the start of the 4th game. On their way there, they see the bodies of Byung-gi and his accomplice hanging in the hallway. Back at the frontman's office, Junho gets busy taking pictures of the files to use for evidence. However, a phone in the room rings, putting him in danger. But he's able to hide before frontman comes in and takes the call. While he's there, he learns from the masked leader's conversation that some VIPs are to visit the arena soon. Sometime after, the next game is to be played in groups of 2. So, everyone is asked to pick a partner. Abdul teams up with Sang-woo, while Gi-hun teams up with Il-nam. In the next game, called Marbles, the instructions are given and each group is given 10 marbles to play with. Whoever takes all of an opponent's marbles becomes the winner and survives, while the loser is killed. As the game begins, Gi-hun finds it hard to play with Il-nam as he seems to be suffering from dementia. However, he comes around much later and they begin their game. On Sang-woo's side, things are getting dire as Abdul inches closer to winning him. Left with only 1 marble, he tricks Abdul, taking his bag of marbles and replacing them with stones, and gets Abdul killed. Meanwhile, Gi-hun also cheats Il-nam in their game. Just when he's close to winning, Il-nam lets him know that he's aware he's being cheated. Even so, he lets Gi-hun take the winning strike, sentencing himself to be killed. At the dormitory, one of the players, Player 69, who lost his wife in the previous game, becomes keen on leaving the game. He asks that the rest of them vote on it like the last time. However, no one agrees to that. With only 17 people left at this stage, the prize pot has massively increased, enticing the remaining players to just keep going. Meanwhile, the VIPs arrive and begin to place their bets for the next game. As that happens, Junho apprehends and switches places with one of the waiters serving the VIPs. That night, Player 69 kills himself since no one agreed with him. With the 5th game finally close, the remaining players are taken out to the gaming areas and asked to choose a mannequin from a range, numbered 1 through 16. As they do that, the VIPs make themselves comfortable. While serving one of the VIPs, Junho catches his attention and is asked to sit with him. After picking their numbers, the players are taken to another room, and are asked to cross a bridge made with an unexpected mixture of tempered glass and normal glass in a game called Hopscotch. The game requires them to make their way by stepping only on tempered glass. Otherwise, if they step on the weaker glass, it will shatter and they will fall to their deaths. As the game goes on, the VIP member takes Junho to a private room and asks him to have sex. Junho backs down immediately and whips out a gun, asking the VIP to tell him everything he knows about the game. After getting the information, Junho finds his way out of the island. Meanwhile, in the arena, after a hectic game of betrayal and mistrust, the game ends with only 3 survivors: Ji-hung, Sang-woo, and Sae-byeok, with Deok-soo and Mi-nyao having fallen to their deaths. While Junho was on the run, Frontman, who had seen him leave, tracks him with the oxygen tank he's using and takes some men with him as he goes after Junho. Frontman and his men follow Junho to a different island. After struggling to place a call to his chief due to a poor signal, Junho finally gets through. As he tries to send the evidence he has on his phone, the poor signal strikes back. Meanwhile, the 3 remaining survivors are treated to a feast, including a change of clothes. Having been stabbed by a glass during the last game, Sae-byeok nears death, and after the feast, a knife is given to each of them, stirring mistrust between the trio. Back on the other island, Junho finds out that his brother, who he believed was dead, is in fact Frontman. Frontman then asks Junho to follow him back to the gaming arena, but Junho refuses, so Frontman shoots him, and he falls into the water. At the dormitory, Sang-woo kills Sae-byeok, just when Gi-hun calls the guards' attention to her injury, but it is too late. As the only survivors, Gi-hun and Sang-woo are prepared for the final game, the Squid Game. Gi-hun plays on the offensive, while Sang-woo plays on the defensive. For a winner to emerge, one of them has to be dead. Gi-hun gets on the winning side and stops beating Sang-woo when the man's close to death. He stops one of the guards from eliminating Sang-woo and opts to leave the game without the prize money. However, Sang-woo admonishes him to take the money instead and take care of his family. After that, he kills himself, making Gi-hun the winner. Then Gi-hun is taken out of the gaming arena. Tragically, when Gi-hun finally gets home, he finds his mom dead. A year later, Gi-hun is refused to spend the prize money out of guilt. Il-nam, who apparently has survived the marbles game, invites him over to his sickbed and shockingly reveals that he owns the game. When Gi-hun questions his motive, he tells him that it was all for fun because there's nothing good in humanity anymore. After that, Il-nam dies. Following Il-nam's death, Gi-hun finally decides to move on with his life. He takes Sae-byeok's brother to Sang-woo's mom and leaves them a suitcase full of money. On his way to the airport to see his daughter, he meets the stranger who convinced him to join the game, playing with someone else. He gets hold of the contract card and decides to locate them and end the game once and for all.
Listen carefully. I'm not a horse. I'm a person. That's why I want to know who you people are and how you can do these horrible things to people.
Just get on that plane. It's for your own good.